Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we're doing another release. Every Friday I try to do as many releases as I can that come out in theaters or on video services. My goal is to do at least 2 every Friday, not including the Marvel releases in the morning, which I realize can and will be difficult. But I want to get as much content out to you guys, particularly because these movies you might be watching, and also people watch these movies and then they look for reviews, and I could be one of them. So hello if you're new, welcome to Robert's Reviews. Today I'm excited. I haven't been looking forward to this movie necessarily. I've been aware of it, but I haven't been actively seeking news about it. And I didn't really know much about it before I watched it, but today we're going to be talking about Body Brokers. Body Brokers was released in 2021. It was released today on February 19th, and it was written and directed by John Schwab. So for those of you who don't know what this movie's about, welcome to the club. I also didn't really know what this is about. I knew it was about drugs. That was my limited knowledge on the subject. Which my knowledge of drugs is also fairly limited. Everything I've learned about drugs came from Breaking Bad, so it's a pretty limited experience. So this movie is really fun, and I mean, no, it's not. But essentially what it's about is in 2008 when Obama signed the Affordable Care Act, that meant that facilities have to have treatment options for people who are addicted to drugs and such. So this is about a group of people who take advantage of that, and they find people who have really good insurance to pay them to put them in beds. They're basically capitalizing off of people who use drugs and are addicted to drugs, and then what they do is they treat them, but not enough. So that way they go back on the streets, and a couple weeks later they ask to be put back in the program, and then they get more money from it, and it's just a continuous cycle. And it's really what it's about is this guy named Utah, and it's his viewing of how it's working and all of that. It is partially narrated by Frank Grillo's character, which is cool. I actually do like the narration in this film. There's not a lot of it, but occasionally it'll take you out to explain something. Like in The Big Short with Steve Carell. I reviewed that a couple weeks ago. If you want to check that out, go ahead and check that out. Essentially, they brought you out of the movie for a second to explain something briefly, to help you aid with what the movie is saying, right? Which is fine. I do like that they did that. I don't think they did it enough, actually, which is something I didn't expect to be having to say. Because normally I'm like, we need less narration. But no, I agree, we probably needed a little bit more narration in this in order to understand it completely. Because for me, I have a very limited knowledge of drug and the drug industry and stuff, which is good. Don't do drugs. But it is a little annoying because I watch a movie like this and I don't really quite understand exactly how it's working. Like, I understand how someone can inject heroin in them. I know you have to stop the blood flow and then put it in your arm and stuff, whatever. I understand the basics of drugs. I understand the basics. But I don't understand how the industry works. This helped a little bit. It did help me understand that, people may not give you the best treatment on purpose in order to make it so that you don't get the treatment that you need, so you come back for more and pay more, which is the problem with living in a capitalist society. I will always argue that we need at least semi-free healthcare, like Canada. If you're from Canada, what's up? But I think it was really cool to get that insight into how it works. I did really enjoy that. I hated that that's how it works, but I liked the insight that we got into it. The movie itself. So the beginning was really cool because we got to see Utah, and he's a drug addict with his girlfriend, Opal. And they meet Wood, and Wood is like, hey, I can bring you to California or whatever, and we can have you stay there and get better. And so Utah is like, you know what, let's do it. He asks Opal, and Opal's like, absolutely not, so he goes by himself. He goes there, he's there for 30 days, and he gets clean, he feels really good. He gets out, and then Wood basically takes him under his wing and is like, hey, listen, this is how it's going to work. So he and Utah started working for Vin, and Vin is basically this guy who runs the company, and he's like, listen, we need to get as many people out here as possible. We also want to do the opioid treatment where they implant something that blocks the receptors in the brain, which is a legitimate thing. And then basically what they're going to do is they're going to pay $60,000 to do that, and then wait 2 weeks for them to want to get high again, and then pay again for the untransplant. So it's a horrible series of events. And of course, along the way, Utah meets a girl that he loves and like all that stuff. And then in the end, they accidentally kill a person. And so Vin is like, well, I'm going to have to take care of this. You guys should go away for a couple weeks until I get this figured out. And so Utah's like, okay. So he goes back to home, which is in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm like, why would you go back home? You know you're going to try drugs again if you go back there. You know you are. I mean, we've seen some parts where he's like tempted to do drugs again, but he never does. Which is why I was really annoyed when he did it again at the end of the film. The end of the film is where it goes downhill, like pretty hard. First of all, in the beginning of the film, they have Utah in the car with Wood, and Wood's like, all right, do you have drugs on you before we go on the plane? Because we can't bring them on the plane. He's like, yes, I do. He's like, okay, well, do it now. That way you don't have to bring it on the plane, and then you won't have any when you get to California. He's like, okay, so he injects himself with the heroin, and that's it. Then, in the end of the movie, we have Utah trying to bring in another guy, because now he works for that same group, and he is like, all right, do you have any drugs on you? And the guy's like, yeah. He's like, well, do it. He did it, and then he passed out. And then Utah was like, oh, drugs. And then he did drugs, and then he overdosed and died. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It was so good until that moment. And then I was like, this is the dumbest thing. Like, oh, all right, I understand the point. All right, I'm not trying to belabor the point here, because I understand that, like, you know, people are going to overdose and die. That's kind of the point, is like, hey, this should scare you. But maybe, right, instead we show that some effects of being in remission have worked. That would be really cool. Nope. They're like, nope, if you do drugs, you're probably going to die. And it's like, great. Like, we needed another movie like that. We deserve a happy ending, I think, in some drug movies. There are so many things that feel unjustified when doing drugs, right? Like, in every situation where you watch on TV and somebody does drugs, like, there's a good chance they're going to die. Which, yes, I understand. That is, like, that's a real thing. However, there are people who go through the 12-step program, and then they are better. And they don't show any of that in the movie. There's not a single person who went through and is actually doing well. Except for Utah, until he slips once and then dies. And I'm like, God, It made me very upset. It made me very, very mad in terms of how really just not cool the ending was. If the ending was more like, oh, he lived happily ever after with his girlfriend and they never did drugs again, that might inspire people to want to do the program more than this. This felt like they were discouraging people from doing the program because people are making money off of it and you're going to die anyways. So if it really bothered me in a way that, like, it's hard to really explain in words, because the movie was really cool up till then, and we're learning that Utah, like, generally doesn't like the work, and he wants to get away from the drugs, and he finds a girl that he loves, and then he just dies, and it's like, yeah, I understand the point, but he was, like, 3 months clean at the time, and then he did it once, because the story made him go back to hometown, and it's like, is the lesson here just not to go back to your hometown after you stop doing drugs? Which, yes, I agree, would help, but still, it shouldn't be the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that the industry itself is bad, which it is, and the drugs are also bad, but we have enough movies about the drugs being bad, right? We have plenty of movies and TV shows where, oh, if you do drugs, bad things will happen. This movie had the opportunity to be a movie about how the system about getting off of drugs is complicated and hard, but still might be worth it in the end. But no, they decided to go with the drugs are bad theme, which, whatever. I'm going to talk about the acting now because I'm upset. But you got my point on what I thought about the movie. I do genuinely think the beginning of the movie was fantastic, and even the middle was really, really good. The ending was just really bad. Frank Grillo as Vin. So I like Frank Grillo. I think he's fine. He's a cool actor. He was in the MCU. He was in Captain America, Winter Soldier. And I think the beginning of Civil War, too. I don't remember. But I do like him in this. He plays Vin, and Vin basically... he's like the leader of the group that's like conning everyone, so you kind of hate him, but you also kind of like him because he's got this energetic, like enthusiastic personality that you just kind of like. So I think the performance was fine. I don't think it was necessarily a hard thing for Frank Grillo to do. This felt like something very Frank Grillo-y, where it didn't necessarily push his abilities in any way, shape, or form, but it was fine. I did enjoy it. Alice Englert as Opal. Opal is very addicted to drugs, and she is Utah's girlfriend at the time. And I really hate her character. We're supposed to. Like, we're supposed to hate her character because she's a drug addict and she's holding Utah back. We're supposed to hate her. I liked the performance though. I mean, if you look at her, like, she looks really nice and happy and stuff, but in the movie she looks awful. She looks like she got bags under her eyes. She's full of drugs all the time. It's rough. Very good performance, I think, in terms of Englert's performance here. I did enjoy it. I think the acting in general in the movie was good, but I think this one was one of the highlights of the film. Because she was able to transform herself into a drug addict and show that, you know, there are really bad drug addicts in the world. Jack Kilmer as Utah. Utah is my favorite character in this movie, which he should be because he is the lead character. He's a drug addict. He's the one that goes into remission, and he goes into the job, and he learns about the market and all that stuff. And it's awful. The whole that part of the movie is awful. Like, awful in a good way. Utah's really cool. I really like Utah until the end, of course, where I thought it was just the dumbest character choice in the world. But I do enjoy Utah in general. I think the performance is really solid. I think, again, it wasn't a necessarily difficult performance because there wasn't a lot of drama. This could have been a movie where we had a lot of drama, like a Leonardo DiCaprio kind of drama, like early Leonardo DiCaprio. But instead we went a different route where he was kind of unbiased most of the time, which is cool. I'm okay with that. We get more of an unbiased look into things. But if it was dramatic, I don't know if necessarily Kilmer would have been the best choice. But I think this is a really good choice for him in this part because he was really solid. He was able to maintain the non-biasness that his face portrays most of the time. But I really did enjoy it. I just think that the character itself in the end was really, really dumb. Michael Kenneth Williams as Wood. I actually really enjoyed this character. I didn't think I was going to like it at first. After like the first encounter, I was like, eh. But then, like, as we progressed, I like him because he's also a drug addict. He was in remission, and then he does drugs every now and then, but like doesn't really realize he does them. It's like very, very, very fallbacky, which is nice. I do like the character. I like the acting was really, really good. I enjoyed it. He was Utah's friend, and he works for Vin. And we get these moments where like he's just really mad at Utah because he's doing drugs. He's on the fallback again, and it's all that stuff. But then we also have times where he's able to be a really good friend to Utah, and I really enjoy how we have both of those in the same actor, and he did it really, really wonderfully well. Jessica Rothe as May. I think this is the same person that played in Happy Death Day, which I have not actually seen yet, but I really want to, so maybe I'll do that at some point in the future. But she was really good. She was the one that Utah was attracted to, and she was basically the receptionist for the company that they were working at that was in remission. And she was really good. I really enjoyed her. She didn't have enough screen time in my opinion. I think she deserved a little bit more. I would have liked to see more of the relationship beginning in the movie, because I see a little bit where like she gives him the iPod and it's like, okay, they're friends, but like it didn't feel very romancy. I almost wish we had more of that, like more of the sense of an attraction there in the beginning of the movie, but unfortunately we didn't. I do think that maybe it was due to the runtime. The runtime was like almost 2 hours. Maybe they didn't want to push it, which is smart, because I think that the length of this film was good for what it was. I think that 2 hours was literally perfect for what it was. There was not a point where I was like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. There's a lot of that in 2 hour long movies. This one felt really good, really well paced, and I really enjoyed that, particularly with this character. However, I do think she deserved a little bit more screen time. But that's going to do it for me today, talking about Body Brokers. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie, because of the ending, a B+. This movie was originally going to get at least an A, because the movie itself was really cool, and then I just hated the ending. It was really, really, really bad. One small announcement before we wrap it up for today. I do want your thoughts on me doing a Saw series. So, for those of you who don't know, the movie Spiral comes out, theoretically speaking, all things assuming everything goes well. It'll come out on May 21st. And so I was thinking, so I've never seen any Saw movies, mainly because I was really scared about them when I was young. I'd like to watch them, I think, but I want to know if you guys would be interested in me reviewing them. I'm thinking about starting on the 13th of May, starting every Saw movie. There's like 9 of them now, watching all of them, and then watching Spiral when it comes out on Friday the 21st of May. So if you guys are interested in that, I will watch them for you. I will be scared most of the time. But regardless, I've been thinking about it. I just want to know if you guys would be interested in that. If not, fine. But if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments down below whether or not you are. I do appreciate comments. I do look at every comment that is posted, and I like it, and I always respond. So make sure you guys are doing that. Please consider subscribing, because it's a huge, huge, huge help. And as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.